Scotsman Due were on hand as quickly as they were running really well, so they were on hand and were able to swap that wheel quickly. But let's see Speed Company Racing. Let's see what they're going to be doing this year. That's the most important thing, and all eyes on them next year. Hopefully we'll see them again very soon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and just a word of credit to our crew up in the air there. I tell you what, keeping an eye on these riders in the forest there. The old hand Mark LaRue with the camera in his hand, and the young buck Coffee, the pilot, keeping an eye on them, and the bigger helicopter up there, Skulk and Jonathan, trying to track these guys through the forest. They're doing a great job keeping an eye on them as we track them here. Look, Speed Company Racing might well have attracted the attention of some of the big trade teams as well, because they only really put this trip together quite late on. They were scrambling to get the finances to come out here, and they made it work, and they put their names in lights every single day, and they are igniting this final stage in sensational fashion. That's there, but the sharp end, Gail Gaga and Lucas Baum.
We've seen them such an electrifying performance all week. We'd be forgiven for thinking that they had gone all in for the Ascent Epic. However, they did put their preparations in quite late in the day, and not really a last-minute entry, but certainly we weren't expecting to see them at the race in the lead-up. But also, one has to point out that they had a really good early season build-up and some races in Europe, stage races in Europe, where they performed really well, and no doubt still on top form from those races.
Also, just think about the fact that I think they are like almost lifelong friends.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of training together, so they know each other so well. I think one of them said that he would just look at the legs of his friend and he would know exactly how he was feeling. And it's those small things. I think that's a key part of why they are so successful in this race. They know each other so well and know exactly how the other is feeling. And you can see they're riding. Well, we haven't actually seen them leave each other's rear wheel. They are constantly riding as a tight unit. It makes a big difference.
Well, look at that gap back there. We saw William Pirelli hanging on to that group, and we see now that it has been whittled down to 3 teams for the stage win, and close attendance, of course, is Scott Strandino, Shirt and Last Boston having a better day today and a better time of the race. And also in close attendance is Team Santa Cruz. They've been a bit quiet in the latter half of the race, and we expect to see a little bit more of them earlier on past the stage win. And today it looks like it could be their day, certainly for a podium. And with 3 teams and 3 spots on the podium, it looks likely they'll get off that podium, but all about who wins on the day. We saw Alaman from William Pirelli really struggling, and his partner Fabian Ravenstein dropping back. And of course there is that 2-minute rule, 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes allowed between 2 teammates. And there they are. Alaman, the national marathon champion, Belgium, riding with the national champion of Italy.
Yeah, he previous winner of the Grand Finale, I think 2018 here in the Casa Grande, riding for the same team under a different name, the tag name, and then on the front into Calvin. No change in the front. It is Ega and Barney absolutely thrashing it. The Scots team are holding on that Nino Kirkham in front of the last quarter, and Santa Cruz, Keegan Swinton and Maxime Ross are benefiting from this aggressive attack up front. And it is blistering pace. It's a section up at the top of this mountain that will catch on jump because the trail is a bit of time and crisscross all over the place. And this is part of the network in Meraki, and the sinister conservancy that makes this such a wonderful place to ride mountain bikes. If you're not sure where you're going, you can get a little bit confused, but the riders here will be following well-marked trails, and they have every opportunity to take advantage. And the other thing is here, you can't see the riders ahead of you, so that'll be something of concern for the yellow jerseys.
Oh yeah, indeed. It makes life a lot easier when you have competitors within a visual distance. And being out of sight is almost sometimes a little bit like out of mind. It leaves you kind of in the unknown. And here we can see actually Ravenstein and his partner Alman is just about to be caught by this chasing group, which is now led by Chris.
He's doing a little work on the front of this chase group, Chris Evans of Toyota 91 neutralized. They are in third place overall. There's Matthew Cannondale parked, and between them, of course, the yellow jerseys, who will be quite happy if Specialized do all the work there.
Well, Specialized were doing that. They are cooperating with Canyon Northwave, it looks like. And a 1 minute 23 gap back to the chasing group. That is hugely significant. We didn't expect it to be this much. It has grown from 40 seconds at the last time check to 1 minute 23. The absolute urgent chase is now required from Canyon Northwave because they do really only have a 1 minute and what was that? Yeah, 1 minute and 20 seconds upper right now on the virtual GC. And there's still quite a bit of road to go. They've got a good 20, 25 Ks to go. And need to get that kilometer marker to understand exactly how far they have to go. But of course, looking at that profile, it's still 2 obstacles to go. And of course, that dangerous descent straight and left before they head into the Valdivia Polar Field.
This is not inspired for the Canyon Northwave team, especially since on the 12, where overtaking is quite difficult. This was the 7th at the front, and in this chasing group, we actually saw this part of Matthias at the very end of that group. It could be that Matthias is not doing what he represents today, and this morning is going to front of the chasing group just to try and control the speed. And that is not a good thing for Canyon Northwave, because that means they can't really chase maybe as hard as they would like to, because there is some flying away a little bit. We're not sure about the tactics, but I have a feeling that could be the reason why we see 15-7 at the front of the group and Matthias at the very end. Not sure, but it could be something like that.
This is where they head the venue stage. They're awaiting the races here. It is just boiling up into the most enthralling final day. And if you'd like to be part of the ascent, that is one of a kind. This is the race that measures the world race. The winning program, that's why we see this heat at the front there. Everyone wants to win the ascent because they're top professional racing other than this. And the amateur boys will finish from 100 making their way towards the finish today. So you can enter tomorrow at 3 o'clock South African time and get your entry into the 2023 Africa Cup. But you've got to be as fast as this Kentucky races. Those entries sell out very quickly indeed. And I think around the winding track, there are lots of short, sharp, steep little pitches. 2,000 meters of climbing in 68 kilometers after a week that they've had here is certainly a really tough challenge for these riders, but they are holding nothing back.
Well, tactically, the other 2 teams, that's Foxtrot and Santa Cruz, have all to gain from the agenda of Egger and Barnes, who've been on the front for several kilometers now, perhaps even 10, 12, 15 kilometers now. And that's not necessarily the right tactic if they're in for the stage win, but that's not their agenda. Their agenda is the overall general classification, which at the moment very much secondary is the stage win. But of course, the Scotsram and Santa Cruz, they're going to be all out for that stage. Scotsram has already won a stage, Santa Cruz yet to win a stage. And Maxime Marotza, a well-known campaigner on the World Cup team for over a decade now, and the young Keegan Swenson, who also just as motivated to win a stage at the Africa Cup, especially the final stage. But really all to play for the yellow jerseys. They don't quite look like they're on the pace. That gap should, if Andreas Silov was really on the pace, if he was highly motivated, if he had really the firepower, he would not leave a gap like that. It's perhaps a more chance in the armor showing the Canyon Northwave, and if they have a plan, they're certainly holding it close to their chest because they are losing time and over first right now. They've lost almost 40 seconds since the last time check. It's really all to play for. Let's see up front just how much urgency there is with Cycleops racing. It doesn't look like they're letting up at all. They are charging, and just looking at the body language, it's clear that they're still in sync very much as a team. There is hardly even a bit of daylight between the 2 of them. And just that body language says to us all that they're still very much on the hunt for that overall victory.
Yeah, and remember it's hard for the riders out there to get the real people of the here. Maybe they'll have some supporters and trying to get them fit, but sometimes they'll be quite delayed. So keep somebody racing who actually knows kind of how this gap is thinking. So they'll think, okay, we have to gain as much time as we can throughout the
there's only one method for them today, and that's full gas all the way until they get to the finish of the lights go.
Well, that's the art, is essentially it's like a time trial for them. They've really got to go full gas. They've got no other agenda, no other tactics. It's just measuring their effort so they can keep maximum power, measure their power and even their power out over the stage, over the 68-kilometer stage. They attack really early on, and with the chasing group, it's almost immaterial to them what the time gaps are, because they're still going to charge no matter what, whether the gap's a minute, whether it's a minute 20, they have to go.
But imagine if you were in the shoes of people in the racing, and you know that you're kind of not about halfway through the stage, and you have a gap of 120, you would know that you were on the right track, and that would be a huge motivation.
Absolutely. Well, just a quick reflection on the week. If you haven't been with us through the week, and some of you weren't able to be with us, but the prologue, the one by the Toyota 91 step by team, they took the yellow jerseys that day. They lost it the next one. Cannondale took the yellow jerseys winning stage number one after the prologue. And then Nino Schurter in the last also after that. Troubles on the stages prologue and stage one. They won the stage integrated stage two. And we're flying down this descent. It's sketchy. Can we hear? Well, perhaps when we can, we'll hear from our man on the e-bike there, step outside. But there goes Canyon Speed Company Racing, who did win stage number 3. And that really did ignite things for them. They realised they could mix it and be in the mix for the overall again. Only one step lines won stage 4. And then Ibuko tried that. The South African team won the stage from Brayton to Stellenbosch on stage 5. And then Willie Peretti winning the loop around the trails of Stellenbosch on stage 6. 6 different teams in one stages. It's been dynamic racing all the way around this week. What happened to Nino Schurter last Forster? Punters on the day one. They lost 4 minutes on the prologue, and that really just scuppered our hopes and put them on the back foot very, very early on.
Or not only put them on the back foot, losing time actually repairing the punters, but also chasing back that deficit would have definitely taken a toll on the team, and perhaps more so on Lars Foster. And that didn't set them up well for a campaign throughout the early part of the week. And of course, Lars Foster, we did see him ailing a little bit, but there is no sign of the ailing right now. They are very much on the fierce pace set by Speed Company Racing. It's easy to say they've got a free ride, but they've still got a match from pedal stroke to pedal stroke. And we saw that Willie Pirelli, Alaman just couldn't quite match them, so it's all to play for that group at the front. And we just don't see that kind of urgency coming from Canyon Northway. Perhaps they're waiting for that obstacle along the way from Marion Wines. There's a 3.5-kilometer climb. They could be leaving it too late though, because there was not a lot of time to make up that deficit, and it's clear that gap is growing.
And the terrain that we see that riders are on right now will suit Speed Company Racing a lot better than the Canyon Northway team, especially because I think that the issues that Cycleops is having is actually some sore ribs. They're having to navigate technical trails with a lot of corners with sore ribs. It's super painful, and they're not as efficient as they would be if you were 100%. So I have a feeling that this gap will only open up a little bit more, and we get just exactly that confirmation that now it has opened up just a few more seconds, so it's almost 1 minute and 30.
And we're about halfway through the stage. I'll tell you what, it's going to come down to and if the Speed Company Racing team manage to keep it all together and don't explode at some stage, they are going to bring this race down to Delta V, to the most enthralling finish in the history of this event. It's never been this close for the general classification on the final day. Quite often it's been a very comfortable lead for the overall leaders, and then the battle's always been about who's going to win the final stage. But today it's a two-pronged race. Stake win and the overall at stake.
Well, it really leads Canyon Northway a minute and 15 seconds to play with, which is virtually nothing at the absolute epic. Anything can happen within that minute buffer. And we're just looking at Speed Company Racing again. They haven't left the front. And even the e-bike Stefan Tom, he will know just how much pressure is being put on by the Germans, his fellow countrymen. And we saw earlier some shots of them going through the forest, and the camera on the e-bike, it was like a Jedi Knight going through those sections, almost imagine if the picture was in 3D, we'd all be dodging the branches as they're coming towards us. Fierce pace set by Egger and Baum at the front. Just looking at the road ahead, the trails ahead, coming up to the 50-kilometer mark, it's really interesting to see what the other teams would do when it comes to their campaign for the stage run. No doubt the two agendas will conflict at some point, and that great cooperation that we see, that's, I guess, the two agendas do mesh. The cooperation we see where Speed Company Racing are at the front, and with the other teams gaining a lot from this fierce pace set because that gap is opening up. But do Scott Schramm and Santa Cruz make an attack on that climb at the 50-kilometer mark? Because the best of all would be to arrive, the best case scenario for any team looking for a stadium would be to arrive at the stadium alone and not risk a sprint finish, because there is so much more risk with the positioning, with just the amount of firepower left in the legs. Risking a sprint means risking a prestigious stage win. So they'll be looking to, each team here will be looking to arrive at the grand finale, at the venue alone. So perhaps on that last time, Schurter, the last possible attack, and then leave Egger and Baum with just one less team to cooperate with.
There's a lot of single track in the middle of this race, and the heat at the front is incredible. It is the intensity. Hydration is key here, eating is key. It's something that sometimes can, I mean, the professional athletes want to get, but you don't get quite the opportunity. You want to take on as much as you need. So these guys, particularly Egger and Baum, are going to be mindful of that, have to be mindful of that as they head to the summit of this long drag up the single track and towards the finish. I mean, and that's, there they are. They are still, they're stretching this lead group. Schurter and Forster, and the pair behind them, Marot and Svensson, having to work really hard to stay in touch with them. They're on the top line, and this is the chase group below.
And we did see Speed Company Racing having, I wouldn't say issues, but they were forced to stop relatively late in one of the stages where other teams could just ride in the feature, because they're running out of hydration and they need to move to the bottom. So that also shows the difference between having a huge setup and making sure that you have enough staff to fuel at every single fueling station. They were a little bit more on their own, and that's why they have to stop and use a little bit of time in that takes sequence to fill their bodies. I'm not sure about today, because it was relatively short stage, maybe before we say the issue, but for sure it's something that they have to be very careful about.
And of course the Speed Company Racing won't have necessarily the nuances and the insight to how to tactically deploy the hydration packs we've seen some of the other teams, including the top teams in the race, deploying hydration packs at strategic points in the race, not always on every single water point that they have them on, and we've seen that. So that could also play into the hands of Canyon Northwave, but it doesn't look like Speed Company Racing are showing any sign of letting up. They know exactly what they have to do, and they're sticking to that plan, and all credit to that team. They have not let up at all. They have shown that fierce urgency that is required to win the Absolute Epic. That's what it's all about. When it comes to long-scale stage racing, the universal truth is you have to win the race rather than defend, and they certainly have shown that they are prepared to actually go out and grab the race by the scruff of the neck and actually win it.
And just as we're talking about hydration and nutrition, you can see here now that it opens up, they're coming out of the trail, riding on a jeep track now. You can see here, just caught a glimpse of the Speed Company Racing reaching into their pockets. They're grabbing gel and water and having a sip of from their bottle. So they are aware that it's still a bit to go, and if they are not that careful about hydration and nutrition, it can be devastating for them. So for sure they have a focus on that and working on that.
Well, often you see Schurter at the front of a race in the heat of battle, sitting third wheel, just following a wheel. There are two very different races going on here, and that's the beauty of this. In the front there, Speed Company Racing chasing overall, and then the next two teams hunting the stage winner. They effectively are racing Santa Cruz, if you like, Scott Schramm. Schurter and Forster racing Marot and Svensson for their stage win. Stefan Sam is on the Bull bike. Can you hear us, Stefan?
Yes.
Well, this is the incredible racing here, Stefan.
It's unbelievable. It's like they are being pulled by a rubber band or something. They're just winching themselves to the finish. Like not getting each other, not missing one pedestal. It's crazy.
Yeah, the pace is insane. The pace that they put in there.
Absolutely insane. Like they have to, but it's the right thing. They have nothing to lose.
They're going up to.
That's a perfect example of how you should be racing.
We're going 21 kilometers an hour. You probably don't know how far we are into the stage of this, do you?
Quickly checked, about 38 kilometers.
38 in.
Yes.
Okay, so that leaves us with about 30 k's to go, and can they hold on? Hydration, eating, feeding, all that key here.
I'm not sure if they if they have the time for eating and drinking at the moment, but I mean they're all professionals, so let's hope they make the best out of it and don't miss the crucial parts.
Well, there hasn't been a closer final day since I think you might have been involved with Carl Platz and Paulson.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
We had a similar situation in our first epic, like 2007.
how did you practice? What did you win with the legal? About 3 minutes or so, 2.5 minutes, we believe that. They went on to win that race. Carl Platt and Stefan Sam, of course, they won 3 African epics together. Carl Platt riding this year with Christoph Sauser. The 2 riders in the men's category have won 5 races each, and they're riding in the NTT Masters. This has been a long drag. We're going about 21 km an hour at this drag, and well, there are the leaders. And you just saw the yellow jersey down there.
Yeah, it's quite a crucial point because what we see is now I think that VIVO trying to catch back onto the wheel of Stolbeck with partner. And up until this point, we actually see that Stefan Devon, he was actually leading this pack through the trail. Maybe it kind of made it more difficult for the leading teams here, the Cannondale North Race, to be in the front and set the pace. Now that it opens up, you can see this urgency to hunt down the chasing group. So, yeah, one thing, having some struggles on the front actually forced this team to lose more time into the speed coming races.
Interesting, yeah, through that single track. It was clear that he was seeing a pace, but perhaps it wasn't quite what Skosek and Seabolt were looking for. Fascinating. The marathon world champion is the man in the white helmet there. His partner, Martin Skosek, is ranked number 2 at the moment in the marathon rankings. These are the top 2 marathon races in the world. And they are hunting down an APSA Cape Epic victory here. They're in the yellow jerseys for Canyon Northwave, but it is tenuous. It's hanging by a thread there. Hold on those yellow jerseys. They've got away from the chase group of Blevins, as well as Beers in that group, the pair of William Peretti also in that group. So they've decided they've got to take this fight on themselves. They cannot rely on anyone else to try and save them their yellow jerseys. So the yellow jerseys get away from the chase group and set off in pursuit of the leaders, Speed Company Racing, Scott Strand and Santa Cruz. Their solitary aim, though, is to try and close the gap to that group, which would mean that Speed Company Racing's virtual lead on the general classification shrinks at the moment. We reckon it was we're about 1 minute and 15 seconds down on the yellow jersey, but that's a very much an approximation of the situation. There it is. So nearly 2 minutes. Remember, they started the day, Speed Company Racing, 2 minutes and 45 seconds back. And they have taken nearly 2 minutes of that back. So just 40 seconds. Seabolt is the man in second rider here. You get the feeling he is, again, with the man who's really struggling today.
Oh, he's struggling. He's struggling, yes, exactly. He's struggling at a very high level because they've already left those chasing teams. They were cooperating a little bit with that group, and they have left them behind. just you can see that the emphasis has gone out of this group, and even the third place riders on general classification, the team that has been really animating the race, that is Toyota 91 Specialized, they have been left behind. And Canyon Northway know now that this is their time to keep that gap to a minimum, and they're not doing a great job of it because they've lost almost 2 minutes already to the charging German speed company racing. And we really expect to see this really almost turning out to be like a time trial at the end of a Grand Tour, where it's really one team against the other, because speed company racing are getting absolutely no help whatsoever from Scott's Ram and the Santa Cruz, who are on a different agenda. They want to win the stage, whereas speed company racing are looking to win the overall general classification.
That's the lead group up the road now. In fact, that's the yellow jerseys. And it's clear that Stolzek is feeling very strongly. And Cycleops was just trying to hang on there. The German with his Czech partner. And he had a tough day yesterday against Cycleops. And that he managed through the day by his partner. The yellow jerseys have broken away from the chase group as they hunt down the leaders on the front of this final stage of the Absolute Epic. Speed Company Racing are their main rivals in the general classification. They're up the road by nearly 2 minutes, which means they've narrowed the gap to the yellow jersey in virtual general classification to around 45 seconds. And we have around about just under 30 kilometres to go on the 68-kilometre final stage, which will end at Valverde, and which more likely would end in an enthralling finish, not only for the stage, but also for the general classification. It's pointing up to an incredible race. It is an incredible race already.
Yeah, it's one of the most exciting or thrilling final stages I've ever observed. There's truly something spectacular here. And we midway through, or just a little bit before, I got the sense, that the Canyon Northway team was kind of riding the same pace, or the gap to the speed company racing was kind of staying stable. But now it looks like once again the speed company racing is capable of opening up this gap. It looks like on the trail section that we just had here that Canyon Northway was almost a little bit held back by Chris Clemens. Chris Clemens was going to the front. It looked like Chris Clemens was aware that his partner Matthias was not 100% today, and tried to kind of manage the speed as it changes the group by going to the front and setting the pace there, because the first thing in those trails is not easy. We saw as soon as they came out of the trails and the road opened up, Canyon Northway, we kind of sensed, okay, we actually lost a lot of time on these trails. Now we need to go on the attack on the hunt, and that's why they separated themselves from the chasing group, and now they're on the phone, chasing the leaders.
What we heard from Stefan Sam on the bike, exactly that, is that the speed company racing haven't missed a pedal stroke. And that's significant, but you can go around those corners and take a bit of a micro rest to let the legs have a second or two rest. It turns out that that is not the case with speed company racing, not leaving anything all to play for the German team. The upstart and the disruptors, who are absolutely going full blast. And we're just looking at the split time for Faces Roller, 91 Songo Specialized, just right there with them. The overall leaders, Faces Roller holding the Absolute Africa jersey leaders, and we've seen that those two teams dice it out. But now it seems that there's 3 teams in the race for the stage win. 91 Songo Specialized defending that lead, looking like a commanding position on the general classification, but still with 3 teams in the mix going into the final stage. Who will win that prestigious stage win? That's going to be the grand finale.
Yeah, there's all sorts here in the women's race as well, because the 91 Songo Specialized team want to cap an incredible week by winning the grand finale. The South African Mariska Strauss and Cannondale have won one stage, but it's not since 2007 that an all South African team has won a grand finale stage. And of course, the emotional side of it is with BNC MTB, because Robin de Groot in her final Absolute Epic, 14th Provo in her first. Well, I think Robin would just dearly love to cap her Absolute Epic career with a second grand finale win here at Valverde. So there's plenty going on there as well, which we will bring
racers by heart. None of these teams are gonna let any of the other teams win if they can avoid it. It's gonna be tight to the very finish line, and none of these teams are gonna give everything for free today. That's for sure.
Well, we're passing through the beautiful landscapes on the slopes of the Simmonsburg Mountain, which is on the left-hand side. They're just revealing there the Simmonsburg Conservancy is through this area, around 4,800 hectares, and there are 21 farms who are curated of the Simmonsburg Conservancy, which was founded in 2004, and it is a spectacular part of the world, and the curators here have created trails, and they've obviously protected areas as well where riders and you won't be allowed to go, but plenty of these areas are very much trail friendly, and the farmers and landowners in this part of the world have been incredible over the last 10-15 years to open up their lands and allow the trails to be built, and these riders exploring many of those today.
Well, it is the absolute battleground that we're seeing unfolding today, and the beautiful trail network in the region is open to riders. But today it is all about the Abscator, the grand finale going into the last stage into Valderby, and with two races going on right now. There's the race for the overall, and of course the race for the stage in both categories, both the men and the women. And the race is really unfolding now. And just a quick recap on the situation at the moment. We have the Speed Company Racing up ahead, and in tow Scotsram and the Santa Cruz team. And, of course, the Canyon Northway team who started the day with a 2-minute 45 lead. Already 2 minutes have been torn into that lead by Speed Company Racing, as Canyon Northway chased alone after the Speed Company Racing team.
They will be approaching the next checkpoint at 42.5 kilometres. We weren't able to get checkpoints. There was quite a large gap for about 20 kilometres because of the terrain they've been riding through now. But they are approaching the 42.5 kilometre checkpoint, and that will be fascinating. That will tell us a whole lot about how this race is going to end here. The Canyon Northway have eventually got out of the single track, got away from the chase group and settled for pursuit, because they realised that things were riding one day, that the yellow jersey was being ripped from their shoulders by Speed Company Racing. And here they are still ripping it up at the front. Lucas Dunn and Dale Gegard, Speed Company Racing. Walker and Shurton, Ross and Svensson hanging on as they charge towards the finish here.
That's always a sign when you see road racing, when there's a long, thin line, you know exactly that the pace is at maximum. And it's no different here at the Abscator that we're going into the final stage. This mountain biking, it's clear that the pace is absolutely full gas. And Lars Foster is leaving a slight gap. I don't think that's really a bad sign yet. But we saw the face of Maxime Marat, we saw the teeth, and that can only mean one thing. That there's full gas for these three teams. And there is certainly some suffering going on. Maxime Marat just keeping an eye on that gap and making sure that he doesn't get caught behind Lars Foster. And back to the women, it's also all to play for. And it seems like the two racing teams we've seen over the last 2 days, and the 91 Songo Specialized team, the Faces Roller, looks like they've left Team BMC behind, and they are hunting after another stage. And it looks like another battle between these two teams. The South African team and the US team, the US Argentinian team, who are missing the leaders' orange jerseys.
And what you see here is, I think it's Candice Mill, who has just positioned herself between the two team members of the Specialized team, meaning she can control that team a little bit better, because she knows she has to have their teammates behind her, and that on the single track it will be hard to overtake. Haley's not in front.
She's having fun.
She's just enjoying these trails.
Yeah.
I know she has a blast of a week until now, and she's just really enjoying this final stage as well. But that being said, it will be serious business once we get close to the finish line.
Rather like the men, these two are riding their first Abscator. It looks like the Speed Company Racing men, and the joy and enjoyment they have shown after every stage has been so gratifying, because they've come here on a journey. Villafan is riding her second. She rode in 5 months ago in October, but didn't get to finish it with her teammate. She was riding the mix then, but this is her first at the sharp end of the race, and my word, they brought a lovely energy and a fresh outlook to the race, and the enjoyment with which they've ridden around here has been fantastic to see. The 91 Songo Specialized team. Hayley Batten is highly skilled. We saw her on the trail-laden stage 6, just absolutely smash her way down those beautiful trails in Elbette and Farmer, Farmers Valley, and in Yorkshire. Batten and the Gomez, then the overall leaders of the CM.com Women's Race, 91 Songo Specialized. And with them, faces roller, Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss. And it will come down to the overall, they'll come down to the stage win chase for these two, with PB and CMPB seemingly distanced now.
And these two teams, I mean, they both so hungry to get this final stage win, because winning on the final stage, the grass knowledge, going down the so-called Champs-Élysées mountain biking is truly spectacular. And it's just a nice way of finishing a strong week, kind of, to close everything. And they both want to, have that opportunity to ride in here as the winners. Because what you do here is actually within the estate, and spectators will be cheering you on, and you get goosebumps when you ride down that stretch, and taking the win today on the final stage, it's quite special.
Yeah, we are situated here at the finish at the B, and the vibe is building up here. The music's up, and the commentators are preparing and then relaying what's happening out on the route to the spectators have made their way here. So the atmosphere is building ahead of the finish here at the grand finale of this event. The men have gone through that 42.5. The first three, Speed Company Racing, Scots and Santa Cruz, all through there. Football for Hayley Batten on that sharp hairpin, but no problem at all. So these four riders set a consistent pace. This is basically what we've seen for the last 3 days, from the Great Stellenbosch Day, stage 5. They managed to get away from Private Client Holdings, and from then on it's been these two teams who've been going hammer and tongs to try and get some dominance over the other.
We have seen some of the other teams in the women's category struggling a little bit more throughout the week, having ups and downs, good days and bad days. And these two teams, I feel like Specialized team, they have been rock solid all the way through, and that's why they find themselves in the orange jerseys right now with a comfortable gap at the same pace at around about 15 minutes. Faces Laura had their issues, but also really came into a steady and good form in the latter half of the race here. And that's why we see these two teams battling out at the front right now. I feel like they have really separated themselves from the rest of the field.
Well, we put back to the NTT Masters category, and they don't come much more decorated in the men's field than those two in the blue jerseys. Carl Platt on the front, the second rider in the blue is none other than Christoph Sauser. 5 wins each in the elite men's field, and they are heading for the podium, the top step of the podium in the NTT Masters. If you had suggested 10 years ago that Carl Pratt and Christoph Sauser would one day ride the Applegate Epic together, they would both give you a little bit of a frown and say, no, I don't think so.
Well, they have been fierce rivals at the race, and probably the fiercest rivalry, the rivalry-ship that we've seen at the race so far, each with 5 wins. So they are on equal win numbers. So perhaps by teaming up, it takes a bit of the pressure off, and if they win the NTT Masters category, it'll be 6 wins for them both.
Well, this leaves then one more question to be answered, because the only other person who's won 5 titles at this event is sitting next to us.
True.
Yes.
That puts a little bit of pressure on,
Yeah,
huh?
probably that.
Well, I'm going to leave that one open.
We'll leave that door open. We won't close it. No, never close it. We never know what. Never say never. Look at this. Never say never ending again. In fact, there's a trail they rode today here on Morality, part of Moran Border's incredible network of trails. There's Hayley Batten, Candice Lill, Sophia Verfan, and Mariska
right now. There's a little bit more impetus from the Scots Ram team, and they are riding together, and now the Speed Company Racing gets some cooperation, they get some help from the Scots Ram team, who are looking to make a bit of a move on this section now. They are approaching Marianne Wines, and at that 42-kilometer mark, it is very bad news for Canyon Northwave at 2:57. They are chasing alone, which makes it even harder for them. And at 2:57, that puts them out of that leader's jersey virtually. So they have effectively lost that leader's jersey. If the race were to stop now, they would have just under a 15-second deficit to Speed Company Racing. And the way the race is going at the moment, with the speed and the pace taken over by Lars Foster and Nino Schurter, it's a very, very bad sign for the German and the Czech.
Absolutely. So the Foster Schurter Express train, and now for the first time almost today, Egger and Baum are sitting behind. So that, as Neil just said, that's, if they stop the race, Speed Company Racing would be the 2022 Cape Epic winners. As we know, they weren't going to stop. They're not going to stop the race now. And Canyon Northwave are chasing. And how much have Speed Company Racing expended? How much energy have they expended over that first section? Are they able to maintain it all the way through to the finish? They'll be motivated. There's no question about that. But physically, how much of a beating have they taken?
On a crucial time in the early part of the race, there was a big attack, and that's it was only a 20, going up to 20-second gap in the very early part of the race, and we really climbed. On driver's day, the move was made, and it was crucial for Canyon Northwave to stay with it, to keep the race fairly neutral, and to not let anything like this. This is a situation they would have known exactly that this is what would have turned out, because any gap, any weakness shown by Canyon Northwave would have been capitalized on by Egger and Baum, and it has absolutely happened. Their worst nightmare has come true with a cooperating teams up front with two agendas, one group of riders. The two riders we see now, Scots Ram and Santa Cruz are off the stage, and Egger and Baum all to gain from this agenda, because it's clear they are going all out. This group is now starting to cooperate, and with Canyon Northwave chasing alone with no help from anyone, that are just the two riders together, only themselves for company and for help. This is all playing into the hands of Speed Company Racing.
They couldn't have scripted this any better if they wanted to, with two teams battling it out for the stage win here. So there's something for them to race each other and set a cracking pace, and they're sitting on now, getting a turn. Look at this rough trail that they're going up through the Siemensberg Conservancy. The Nosterbos, who endangered the Nosterbos here in the Siemensberg Conservancy, is what the curators of the Conservancy try and preserve and protect. And the 21 farms that are part of the Conservancy, very much a part of looking after it. There's the yellow jersey in our split screen. When last we saw, they were 2 minutes and 57 seconds back, which puts them out of the yellow jersey right now. And again, it's evident that Sevold is the sufferer here. Stosek on the front, Sevold having to yo-yo back and forth the whole time. Now Stosek says, you go and set the pace, and we will chase.
But the question in the leading group is, why is Scots Ram now at the front? Is it because the sense that the Speed Company Racing was kind of setting up just a little bit, or is it to kind of help to cooperate? If it is that the sense that the Speed Company is fading just a little bit, it could be a good thing for the Canyon Northwave team. So it's so exciting.
Well, today look and see Keegan Svensson suffering and say, well, let's put us on you on the stage when it's all manner of things. We don't know, they know, or do they? That's the beauty of this. It is all unfolding a high drama here on the Grand Finale of the Cape Epic. The drama is all over the course here on the final stage here, with the team up from Scots Ram is starting to open a bit of a gap to Speed Company Racing, and Santa Cruz also just swinging a little bit off the German pair here as they climb this brutally steep and rough trail in the Siemensberg Conservancy. And that done for the time being. We'll perhaps see them come back together, who knows. But Scots Ram are on a motivated drive now.
Well, they certainly are, and with all to gain for the speed company racing, it's playing into their hands. They have, whether or not they thought this through, it's clear that whatever plan they had is working out, and that they get the cooperation of the speed versions of the day. The riders were perhaps leading up to the grand finale stage, taking a couple of easy days, and that does make all the difference. Whether you take an easy day, Annika will attest to that. If you have a slightly easier day, the next day it just goes a little bit better.
Yes, quite clear that this really hasn't been the race, the week that they were hoping for. They're having different sorts of issues, and it seems like it took a couple of days kind of recovering from all that, and then swap and focus on not the overall, not too easy, but okay, let's go to statements, and today it looks like they have time back to perfection. We'll see, still a little bit to go.
Well, a cruiser race winner, one of the greats of all time, Shirt on the front of this group. You wouldn't want as Edgar and Baum and anyone else up there. He's the man who's going to drive a ferocious pace. He has an appetite for winning like few others. So it'll be an opportunity for them to build on that lead that they had opened up over the yellow jerseys. We'll get another look at that as they pass through this time check at 47 kilometers. They've gone through there in 1 hour 52 minutes. Such has been the blistering pace. And one of Baum and Egger starting to so I think that's Egger. He's lost a bit of ground there. And Santa Cruz going to the front of this group. Well, we see the mountain bikers, Stanley, and kids out watching the best riders in the world battle out for victory here. Foster. This is the lead group of 3 teams chasing victory here at the Atsucate. They're chasing 2 victories, if you like. Speed Company racing in the purple blue tops there, looking for the general classification, and the other 2 teams, Santa Cruz and Scott Strand, chasing a stage win. Yeah, this is the leading 2 teams in the women's TM.com women's category. In the orange jerseys, 91 Songo Specialized, Amy Batman, Sophia Donald-Zuurvan, and South Africa's Candice Hill and Mariska Strauss of Faces Laura. There's 16 minutes between the 2 teams on general classification. That's not going to change today. At stake today is the honor, the glory of winning the final stage.
Well, these are clearly the 3 strongest teams in the race on overall general classification and in general stage. The last 3 days we've seen this exact scenario where the leaders on the overall GC are battling it out for the stage win, with Mariska Strauss and Candice Lowe, the all South African team, in their African jerseys, and very well. We just see a little bit of a weakness there from last Foster. We saw on that last climb, just on their way up to Marianne Wines, just giving a little gap last Foster, and we saw earlier with Nino Schurter imploring his teammate to catch up, get back in touch, because it's all about what happens on that Babylon Storing climb. This will decide the stage, and perhaps it'll decide the overall, depending on how hard a speed. Look at the attack by Speed Company Racing. They are leaving nothing to it. They really want to go all out and create as much, keep the momentum going as much as possible. They won't necessarily have time get back to the chasing Canyon Northway team, who seem to be out of the virtual GC, having lost over 3 minutes already at this point, and still the urgency is all definitely absolutely visible with Speed Company Racing. They are not leaving a single opportunity for any of the teams to really take a turn at the front. They're just not exposed to any kind of respite, any level of the pace that we've seen from Santa Cruz or Scott Strand. Speed Company Racing have got to the front and kept that speed going. All very important in their chase for the overall GC. They're not necessarily going for a stage win. If the opportunity presents itself, they will no doubt sprint first, as they are true racers. As is indicated by all week, they've been very aggressive. But clearly, the agenda of Scott Strand is to win the stage.
Well, we can go to the trail. I can tell Stefan that in fact Silvalt and Martin Stosek are now 3 minutes and 35 back. So Stefan, you're riding with the virtual yellow jerseys up the front there. This is another just insanely hot climb, and they're flying up here.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's back now. They are 3 minutes back.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
But I think Stefan's suffering really a lot with the broken or the bruised ribs. It's horrible. I'm not switching it. single track and stuff, so you can't really move your body.
But we saw Scott Schramm go to the front there for a moment in this group.
Yeah, he was just lost, just missed the turn off, and got stuck in a fence and had to catch back just before the water point.
So the two races going on here with Sandy Cruz. They're often not so changing.
I think Keegan is still really strong. Rod is super fast on the downhills, but struggling a little bit on the steep climbs.
Have you seen any chinks at all in speed?
I would go for it. I'll feed something a flavor in itself.
And you haven't seen any chinks at all in speed company racing today?
No, nothing. They're just keeping it simple, pushing as hard as they can.
Come on, catch up. You're way behind.
I am a little bit. I got distracted to talk to some beautiful people.
Oh, thanks very much, Stefan. Stefan Sam, a legend on the bike, and he's keeping us right in the picture here. You can see Keegan Swenson just stretching the back there on every opportunity he can.
Well, Keegan Swenson is a former stage winner at the Swiss Epic, in fact, in 2018 when he rode with none other than Christopher Levens. So he knows all about how important the Grand Finale stage is. Very important, and he was a young rider at that point, and really breakout performance by the young American. And you'll want a bit of a taste of that, but also let's remember that Nina Schurter has won the Grand Finale in the 2020 Swiss Epic, and riding with Lars Forster that year. And of course we've also seen the Scott Schramm team name in lights in the Grand Finale, but that was of course the backup team of André Frischnick and Amanda Heiden, who had a dramatic stage win in the Grand Finale going into the final, into the finale in 2019. But we haven't had the general classification results that Scott Schramm would hope for, but clear that today it's very much on their agenda to make sure that they win the stage. They will have a lot of resistance from Keegan Swenson and Maxime Laurent. He's a quick sprinter, but of course all four of these riders, the contending for the stage win today, are cross-country riders per se, and they will not. It'll be all to play for when they reach the finale, and all to see who will have enough for this Rise the Babylon's touring climb. We predicted that this would be the climb that would really separate out any contending teams that were together. We expect there to be some moves, but so far we haven't seen much. We've just seen the absolute pace set by Speed Company Racing. Oh, now we do start to see some gaps opening up. And this could be telling any riders, any teams that hope to have their name in lights on the stage, and they're standing on the top step of the podium. This Babylon's touring climb is 3.5 kilometers long in its entirety, and around about a 10% gradient, and the top start at some pretty steep sections as they really start to reach the finale. But of course there is that last 10 kilometer flat run into Valdevi's estate single track, and these are Valdevi's own trails, and can be all to play for at that point. If all teams are together, there will be some tactical maneuvering. There will be absolutely no tactical maneuvering from Speed Company Racing. If they are still with that group, they will be keeping the pace high. It'll be like a locomotive, a bit like a lead-out train you see on the road cycling, and in the finale of a race. And Speed Company Racing, of course, have a very different agenda today, and already making great inroads into the lead. In fact, having virtually overhauled the general classification leaders in yellow we see right now. And Seerwold's on the front. That is because Martin Stozak has let him go to the front to set the pace. There is no point in Stozak setting a fierce pace if Seerwold cannot match it. So it's all up to Seerwold just to keep that consistent. They have put quite a lot of time into Toyota 91 Specialized, who've lost almost half a minute to his team. And it's interesting to see that Canyon Northway didn't choose to cooperate with Toyota 91 Specialized, so are currently riding with Ria Pirelli Factory, and that's Cameron Orr and Daniel Gesmar, and Ria 70 Force, Cataneo and Taparol. We have seen Ravensteiner. We saw them having difficulties. That's Ravensteiner and Alaman, 5 minute 30 back. So it's clear that Canyon Northway are choosing to chase alone and to chase after the Speed Company Racing team. They have already lost 3.5 minutes, so they're already way out, 45 seconds out of that jersey virtually if the race will stop now. Of course, there is still quite a bit to go. Let's call it 20 kilometers to go in the stage.
You know this time? Have you been up there?
I think they have.
It hasn't been in the race before, which is actually fantastic. It looks a really good climb.
Yes, it's a nice climb. I wonder what these riders think about it.
Probably not so good.
In the front, enjoy a little bit more. You see here the Scots flag, the racing team that a little bit like we saw in the last couple of days, the last course, starting to suffer a little bit more. The question is, because for the last part of the race, being in the front of the team in front of you would be very nice because it is flat, but they need to keep the wheel, and it looks like Scotsman is struggling with that.
And watch the race tear by, and let's see exactly what happens when they reach when the Canyon Northwave team reached them. They were 3 minutes 30 back, and if that puncture takes them a long time to repair it, they may get a chance to come to contact with the Canyon Northwave team and perhaps cooperate with them a little bit. But it's clear that prestigious stage win has eluded them right now. It's going disappearing well up the road. You can see the Speed Company Racing certainly aren't waiting. In fact, they're not letting a single moment go by without putting maximum power down. But there is still one spot left on the stageman podium. And no doubt that Canyon Northwave and Scotland will be in contact very soon. It just depends on how long it takes to initiate and last off to repair that puncture.
I don't think they care too much about something heavy that they had one team less with them, but it doesn't really make a big difference because we can see that actually they haven't left the front at all. So they are just in time trial mode. All they focus on is gain as much time as possible. They don't really care too much about what is happening behind them, except for, of course, the guys of the Canyon Northwave who were or are in the yellow jerseys still.
They are wearing them on the road, but if it stays like this, they will not wear them at the finish after this race, because the Speed Company Racing team have been quite extraordinary the way they've approached this entire week. They threw down the gauntlet after the prologue and they finished second there, and they have just taken the fight to the yellow jersey to all the teams throughout this week, being aggressive. The most unpredictable moments that they've raised eyebrows all over the Cycleops. By the way, they've attacked at sometimes illogical areas in traditional terms, but they've torn up the race handbook and decided this is how they get a race, and is it net paying off in the most handsome way here today so far.
The pace they're sitting in right now, you see it's so high that actually even the Santa Cruz team here is struggling to keep the wheel. It looks like now they're going into a descent, or is it still still continues to climb. So the question is if they will manage to, we know that there's a descent coming, and if they will manage to go into that descent alone, maybe they can keep this gap all the way to the finish line. We have seen that they're good in every single aspect. They can ride second hill trails, they can ride uphill, they can ride flat. So if they can kind of keep this gap and be alone up in front when it comes to the final 10Ks, which are more or less flat, well, that's a good thing for them. Especially because we know that there still are a lot of trails towards the finish line, and with the send-off of the Canyon Northwave team having to use a sore wrist, he will not be able to navigate those trails in the same way as if he was injury-free. So yeah, it looks like they are capable of just opening up to get more and more on all sorts of terrain.
This is Andreas Silvos right now. We see the picture in the foreground, and just unable to close that gap and keep really Marcus Bozak has been the stronger partner in the latter half of the race for sure, and just a bad sign for Searbolt. And they will know, they will sense that yellow jersey is being wrestled off their shoulders virtually. As we see the race unfold, we see the German team, the Speed Company Racing team, putting the putting huge pressure on Santa Cruz. And Santa Cruz, right now, if they want to win the stage, they will be desperate to hang on until the peak of this climb, because they know at the peak of the climb there is a long descent through Frida and Lust and some flat sections. They know they're struggling on the climb a little bit. If they can just stay in touch, stay within a few seconds, they'll take a couple of risks on the descent, on that small downhill, that long downhill section rather, as they head through to the trails of Valdeby. And if they can just get back in touch with those that incredible pace set by Speed Company Racing, they will have a chance at the stage when they might not get any resistance when it comes to a sprint finish. So it's all about just staying really as close by as possible and getting a free ride into the Valdeby estate.
Lucas Baum, whose father is their only support staff, and Gabriel Gega, friends for almost 15 years, are combining here to put together a quite extraordinary week of racing and cap it all with an overall win at this stage. That's what it looks like as they turn up for yet another of these switchbacks and head up skywards here. This climb on Babylon's Touring really is a toughie. So the last major climb of the week.
And a perfectly placed and highly selective point in the race. We have the gradient of around about 10%. Of course, that doesn't say anything about where it maxes out, and it really puts the riders under pressure, especially the ones that are struggling a little bit on the climb, is where the climb starts to really ramp up, and the gradients beyond 15, 16, 18% will put pressure on the likes of Keegan Swenson. Maxi Marot looks like he's more or less in touch, but Keegan Swenson seems to be ailing. And we're back to Scotsram. They had their puncture issues. They seem to be back on the bike and having repaired and put them behind them, but of course they are seeing their chances of a stage win disappearing up the road. We would safe to say that just from the agenda of Speed Company Racing, pretty much that chance of a stage win is out of the picture now.
Yep, they quite often this is the chase group, and Chris Blevins sitting at the back of this group with his partner, South African champion Matt Beers. They are third on general classification, and they're unlikely to lose that because the next team behind them, Buff Megama, are over 17 minutes back. So they're quietly getting through the stage here in the company of the William Pelleridi factory team alongside them. But up ahead through the helicopter, you see this pair. Shirts zip down. They are in race mode, business mode for Baum and Eger. Their agenda pretty simple at the start of the day. The tactics, I'm sure that hard, race hard from the start. They had no other plan at all other than to go as hard as they possibly could, as early as they could, to try and snap the elastic to the yellow jerseys, and they have seemingly done that now in spectacular fashion.
Oh, you saw the zip-down jerseys, and just looking at the temperatures, the current temperature at Valdeby, we're sitting here at the grand finale, at the polo fields now, in the grand finale, and it's 27 degrees already. It's 10:30 in the morning, and it looks like the temperatures will reach around about the early 30s. And clearly, it's not just the racing that's white hot, it's also the actual conditions, the race conditions. And it seems that the elastic has snapped back to the Santa Cruz team, with Maxi Marot and Keegan Swenson losing touch. Back to the Scotsram. This is really the race for third on the podium for the stage win. That will not satisfy the likes of Nino Schurter, who's very much used to standing on the middle step. Lars Foster right behind him in close touch, but those tire issues have plagued them all week, and no doubt they'll be ruining that as they reflect on this week of racing. But anyone who's going to reflect on this week of racing with the smiles on their faces will be Speed Company Racing, and living up to that promise, more than living up to the promise of saying that they're going to be taking over, not just taking part. They plan to take over the race, and nothing could be more true right now. And they look on track for a stage win, and not only a stage win, but also an overall victory, having already put just under 4 minutes into the leaders on the day. Before we went into today, Canyon Northwave had a 2-minute 45 gap, so that gap has been absolutely obliterated as the riders reach the head for the peak of the Babylon's Touring climb.
Stunning climb it is. It's been winding up the northern slope, sort of shoulder of Siemensberg Mountain in the Siemensberg Conservancy area, and this pair have made it their playground today.
Well, that's the
This is
yellow
the yellow
jerseys
jersey.
we see now, and there's still a little bit of a gap back to the so-called chasing group, and that Matthew Beers in that chasing group, and they would perhaps have done better to cooperate with them, but they were just racked with that sense of urgency to reduce that gap or keep that gap to really under control to Speed Company Racing. They know how well Speed Company Racing have been going over the last few days, but clearly Andreas Seewald's issues with his bruised ribs have been coming back to plague him almost every day. We saw just a couple of chinks in the armor early on in the week, and today it is being amplified as the German, the world champion in the marathon discipline, is struggling. He's used to hard races, he's used to really selective races, but clearly he doesn't look comfortable at all. In fact, let's say he looks in a world of pain.
He truly looks in a world of pain, and really great respect to Seewald to actually be able to soldier on, because these are some pretty long days, and if he has to get through every single stage with pain, such pain in his body, it's definitely not easy. So yeah, no matter what happens on today and the entire week, it's quite impressive that he's capable of getting through this with the pain.
Well, Matt Beers now draws level with Andreas Seewald on his left-hand side there. Seewald, as we've observed, is really suffering today. And you've got to look as we saw Stosek go through the corner a little bit earlier. That look on the face was exhaustion, but also almost a sense of resignation that the race is disappearing and the jerseys are being ripped off their shoulders by Speed Company Racing. Chris Blevins in his first APSA Cape Epic on the right-hand side there ahead of Matt Beers has been exemplary this week. He clearly, well, if he chooses